Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're playing Unlimited and we're using Chimera Shift. Chimera Shift is reasonably entertaining, mainly because it's hilarious to throw giant Chimera down people's faces. It's absolutely my favorite thing to do when I'm bored. I mean, throwing giant Chimera, just ramming it straight into them, no stopping. This train just keeps going, especially when you can deal 20 plus damage easily with this. Otherwise, the rest of the deck is fairly standard. I mean, you're going through all the early spell boost stuff and massive amounts of draw power, along with golem assaults and normal chimeras that mix really nicely with the G-shift components. So, hopefully you guys enjoy this and we'll get right into the video. First up on our victims list is Sword. Sword does create an interesting opponent just because if they get enough aggression and you don't have enough answers, they will just outright kill you. Otherwise, it's a fairly reasonable match. You can bounce stuff back, you can ping stuff off, it works pretty well, but if they do have a perfect aggressive curve, it can be very, very difficult to come back from that. And our starting isn't too bad at all. I mean, Glow works nicely against any kind of sword early drop. Golem works nice as well on curve, that means I get at least something out of this. And we already have a Magic Owl and Fate's Hand boost, so that's going to work out really well with other card boosting. Of course, we get Mysterious Knowledge, which gives us a missile, which is good, because it means Conjure Golem can come down without having to spend it on a normal Golem.
This song's for you.
But overall, I think this deck is just rock solid. No pun intended on these Golems, but it works really nicely. You get to give them a missile, we get to ping the Sword's face, we get to ram some more damage, and they just have to sit there and take it. And we got our Giant Chimera, which is perfect. You really want to try and get that in your early game. Even if you can't, it's not hard to spell boost it, especially with the cards that you've got. And even if you can't spell boost it, you can still win off other ways, like just playing Chimeras, Owls, and all those sort of cards out in one go and just swarming the board in one turn. So I do tend to like to hold on to the Chimeras as much as I kind of can until I really need to play them. Plus, we get a really nice Owl bounce heal, so we get to evolve it, we get the extra boost, we get to return it, gives us a boost, draws us a card, and we get to Owl next turn for the same sort of turn. Which will work really nicely considering what we actually have. Do go for the draw first though, we get D-shift, which is absolutely perfect for this. So it means we do get that D-shift spell boost, being able to boost it down to 18 pretty much instantly. And more boosts. I mean, you can't go wrong just drawing out all your boosts super early like this. I mean, Dimensional Shift has already been dropped 4 points in that single turn.
On the flames of war, the fame of warriors.
Chimera just keeps gaining points and really our opponent's not doing much at all. Although they are playing a slower variant of Sword with Castle in the Sky, so I mean, what is there really to expect from them? We get both our Owls out, we no longer have Evolve, so we may as well just play them as board fodder. So really no reason to hold on to them. And as far as Windblast goes, it's looking really positive. I mean, Windblast could possibly remove anything here. Most likely going to hit this Uriel though, so we can hold on to the Fiery Embrace, as Fiery Embrace is slightly better than Windblast, mainly to the fact that Fiery Embrace kills absolutely anything, whereas Windblast just outright doesn't. Although a 12 damage Windblast, I think, does kill pretty much every single stat line that I can think of naturally. Of course, the laner stat lines and stuff are a fairly different ball game, but this is pretty reasonable. Pure-Hearted Singer, yeah, we'll deal with it. And Geno, yep, another card we can deal with. I mean, our Giant Chimera will be active next turn. It's already at 13 damage. We're probably not going to use it next turn, and if we do, it'd be a little awkward, I think, but overall, it's still pretty good. So we get to spell boost everything even further. We're going to basically spend this turn setting up for our next turn, which will be huge with this Dimensional Shift. I do hit that for 1 instead of going face. I'm not really sure why I bothered to do that. Probably should have just hit the face for 1 extra damage, would have made my Chimera slightly better.
In the name of glory.
And we see Arthur. Arthur is going to block the Chimera well, except for the fact that we now have pretty much the perfect hand to handle this. I mean, Insight draws us a card, Kaleidoscope Glow draws us a card, Magic Missile now draws us a card, and we can remove a lot of this board while boosting our Chimera and setting up our D-shift. plus the normal Chimera on board would be more than enough. So we get our glow, remove the highest health follower. I do use the Chimera and I end up hitting the 2-6. Probably shouldn't have done that. I should have kept the Fiery Embrace and just hit one of the others. Not that it's really going to make any difference because we pretty much outright win anyway with this deck. Because D-Shift now costs 0. You know, free D-Shift, great turn, straight into Giant Chimera. That's going to pretty easily close out this game. I mean, 26 damage, of which only 2 is blocked, so 24 to the face. Nothing like a good-fashioned OTK Chimera. Next up to fall victim to the unlimited Chimera shift deck is Blood. Blood is another deck that, if it is super aggressive, can deal quite well against Chimera, but on the flip side, they do have a lot of low-cost followers, which are easy to target with missiles, with return, all those sort of cards. I do decide to keep the Insight and Magic Missile. I feel like they're some of the best cards in your early game because they do draw and they also spell boost, so it works out really well to keep those most of the time. And Commence Experiment isn't exactly bad either. The Fate's Hand finally gives us something spell boostable, so whether our opponent makes a play next turn or not, we're going to be pretty okay. Especially with Commence Experiment and Golem Assault. And now we have 3 spell boostable cards, so really you can't go wrong. Although they do go for the Bahamut, which would have made a good target for one of those 1 damage cards. But we get Glow, so why not? I mean, it gives them an extra 2, which is fine, but we end up getting Giant Chimera, which is perfect. I mean, you can brick hard and not get Giant Chimera, but I have not had a game yet where I haven't had Giant Chimera in reasonable time frame. I'm usually getting it by at least turn 6, which gives you a good solid 3 to 4 turns to really set up everything else. And if you don't have Giant Chimera, usually you have smaller Chimeras or D-Shift or just purely Golem Assaults to flood the board anyway, so it's not a big deal when you don't have it. It just really helps when you do, because obviously the bigger the spell boost, the better the card becomes. So Wind Blast, pretty easy pick off there. I don't decide to play anything else because I want to keep this Fate's Hand for 0 for next turn. No point playing it out earlier at this point, although I could have potentially got a card to use. I think holding onto it is just ideal. And knowing what Blood has and what they can do on turn 6, I'm really not worried about taking this damage, even with an Evolve. With what I have in my hand now, I should be able to clean up most of this board, and since we did get the Commence Experiment for the Earth Rune, and we also got the Conjure Golem to go off, they all cost 1, which is dirt cheap for those, literally. We'll be able to severely boost our hand without really losing any kind of advantage. So all we have to do is clear this board out as much as possible, limit what they can play, and do well. Unfortunately, we burn the D-Shift, which kind of sucks, but at this point I'm not really focused on using D-Shift as a turn, and more focused on getting the Chimera lethal. Even better, we start drawing more cards. So we get the Insight, we finally did get a D-Shift, which is great. I mean, burning 1, pretty okay.
You're done for.
Magic Owl draw really fixed this hand up for me. Meant that I could use the Chimera and the Fiery Embrace together now anyway, which I probably could have done considering how my hand's shaped up to be anyway. But I do go for the Fates, mainly because I just wanted to get some extra cards. I didn't really have any reason to not play it there. I could have held it to next turn, but I didn't really see the point. Not when looking at my board now is absolutely crazy. So I do use a Hungering Horde, it does pick off a couple of those, but luckily we did play the Owl and a Chimera, so they get to at least survive reasonably. So even with all this targeting, it's not going to be enough to survive this severely boosted Chimera. I mean, this Chimera is at 17 damage now. We don't need much at all for this thing to actually go off. So one more turn of boosting should be more than enough damage to kill off our opponent. Especially now that we've drawn into another Golem Assault.
There was nothing to be afraid of.
Which just allows me to really set up again. Well, I could have played a Conjure Golem. Honestly, I don't need to at this point. I can drop all these golems next turn. Even if they're Hungering Horde, I'm still in a positive position. I really just need to block out this turn. I didn't quite get as many spell boosts as I would have wanted. So I actually end up only being slightly short from lethal there. Although I could have probably, like prior to that turn, I think I just played 4 spells, so that's fine. I don't know, something like that. So I would have actually been very close to lethal there. If not on it, if I had just played a Conjure Golem and went straight into Chimera. Luckily it really didn't make a difference, and I could just Chimera anyway and hit him for 24 damage.
Your strength is
I
formidable.
mean, you're not standing up to 24 damage to face. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I just realized I'm on the wrong deck. Sorry guys, that's so fine. Anyway, the Chimera deck was great fun. Like I said, it's great when you can just Chimera down into the face. Works really nicely. Of course, you do have a chance of bricking in some way, but most of the time I find that's very unlikely with this deck in particular, mainly because of how much draw power it just has. I mean, if you draw one draw power off the top, the odds are you're going to cycle that draw power over and over again, and not really brick a second time in a row. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, you will find this deck list in the description below, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.